Founding Fathers guaranteed equal rights, not equal things. What was it you were saying about health care?
Welcome back to Momentum Radio on AM 580 WDBO. My name is Ray. I'm America's loose cannon. I'm about to aggravate a lot of people, I promise you. We're talking now about Joel Hunter. He's the senior pastor of Northland Church, a church distributed here in Orlando. Started around 1972. He came on in the 80s. He took it from 200 people to 12,000 people. He's a member of Obama's Council on Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships. Author of A New Kind of Conservative. Boy, you ain't kidding. I got to tell you this. Joel Hunter is the first interview I've ever done. For those of you that listen to the show, you know it's relatively new to DBO, and I discovered something about myself. I suck at interviewing. Okay, we are going to be providing the entire Joel Hunter interview as promised last week via our email newsletter. If you haven't signed up yet, make sure you do that. For those that signed up last week, don't worry, it's coming. But you got to be on the email list to get it. It's going to be unedited, uncut. We're going to include both of the commentaries that I made last week and this week, and then the entire unedited, unabridged audio, other than just cutting out some bleeps and blips and stuff like that. That way, it's completely fair. People can listen for themselves. But because it's so long, all we can do is excerpts on the air. There's no way for me to play you the interview. There's just not enough time. Plus, you'll hear so much of my boring voice, you don't want anything to do with it. So make sure you go to MomentumRadio.com, sign up for our email list. Click the Contact Us link, and there's an email newsletter link there that you can punch in with. Let me just preface with this. He does believe the feds should be involved in health care if, and this, I just want to be fair here, if and only if the states and the churches don't come through. All right, so I agree with that statement in that just as far as the state has the absolute right to decide if they want to provide health care, and the churches should be doing it. That's where we then part ways. The feds should never be involved in health care, ever, at any time, for any reason, other than emergencies. That's what their purview is constitutionally. I have 6 major areas where there's issues with Joel Hunter that you need to hear. First is feds involved in health care. Let's take a listen to this. But this is a key question for my listeners. Do you personally think that the federal government should have any involvement whatsoever with health care?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. I think that, and before I even go here, let me tell you, I prefer if the states would take care of it. I would much rather opt for a state solution than a federal government solution. And secondly, and I need to say this very quickly, I am very skeptical and very cautious about the federal government's involvement because it can get way too big, way too fast.
Okay, so it can get way too big, way too fast. That's important that you hear that. Because last week when we did the interview, I showed Joel Hunter a chart which showed the bureaucracy going in. If you guys didn't catch this chart, it's on MomentumRadio.com/healthcare.jpg. Okay, so you go to MomentumRadio.com/healthcare.jpg. And you can, worst case scenario, if you can't find it, send us an email. We'll make sure that it gets to you. His concern is that it could get too big too soon, or too quick, or whatever. The problem is, with government, it always gets too big too quick. We are starting the healthcare thing with a bureaucracy that has nothing to do with healthcare. We talked about this last week. You're going to have to go back in the archives and get the audio, or make sure you sign up for our email list and you'll get the audio on that. It's already a massive bureaucracy before we even start. Now we're going to go into the next piece where he's talking about redistribution of wealth. Take a listen to this.
When you say redistribution of wealth, that I think phrases it a little bit in a slanted way, Ray, and let me tell you why. In a way, there's a difference between redistribution of wealth, taking from one person and giving to another, and doing things together that citizens by themselves can't do together. Let me give you an example. A simple example is building roads. We can't build roads. There has to be an organizing body for that. And so all of us pitch in our money through taxes, and we build roads, and it benefits everybody.
Okay, so the bottom line there is this. This is something that Scott Maxwell did in an article last week. You are going to need to be prepared for this argument. When people say, well, why shouldn't we help people with health care when we build roads together, don't we? It's a tantalizing argument, if not interesting. Says that we can't build roads on our own. He is fundamentally misunderstanding our Constitution, our rights, and everything else. You got to get this concept if you're going to fight this argument, gang. You're going to need to understand this next piece. The Founding Fathers believed our rights that we have, our inalienable rights, are permanent and come from God. And they're only permanent because God is permanent. There are a certain number of them. They are limited, but they are more than enough for us. They come from God and they come directly to us. And then we pass those on to the federal government by choice as a team. That's why we are a nation of the people, by the people, and for the people. That's the type of government we are. Because we chose to hand our stuff to the government voluntarily and create them. Now, having said that, go back a step before we hand our rights. Can we as a people decide we want to build roads? Yes, we can. He is fundamentally wrong about that assertion. Fundamentally wrong about that assertion. The next thing is this. Can we as a people decide, I'm going to go to Sally because she has 2 cars and take a car away from her and give one of her cars to Billy who has no cars? No, we can't. Here's the concept you've got to catch. The feds cannot do anything we cannot do, i.e. prior to when we handed them our power years ago, voluntarily, and turn this into a republic. They can't do that. Yes, we can get together and build roads. Here's the other thing. No one is forced to use a road. You'll be forced to get health care. No one is forced to make roads. People can voluntarily decide in our capitalist system that we are either going to or not going to participate in building roads, i.e. either using them or being the people that actually are the ones that are, being paid to build them. In Obama's world, and apparently in Joel Hunter's world, they don't get that everything that happens from the federal government happens at the end of a gun. Do they not see that? If you don't get health care, do you know what happens? If you don't do what they say, they come to your house and they put you in jail.
Momentum Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I'm wrong about Joel Hunter, I am just a kook. If Joel Hunter is wrong, we are all dead meat. You don't want to miss the next few pieces that I'm about to give you. Do not move. You need to hear this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Momentum Radio. We're experimenting on you instead of small animals. MomentumRadio.com presents Republican slogans you can believe in. Today's slogan, Republicans, rigging primaries for as long as we can remember. Just ask Charlie Crist.
Welcome back to Momentum Radio. My name is Ray, America's Loose Cannon, but we're also a homegrown show here. I'm Orlando's Loose Cannon. I'm glad that you're along for the ride. Homebrewed show right here in Orlando. Glad that you're with us. Talking about Joel Hunter, who's the pastor of Northland Church Distributed. He's a member of Obama's Council on Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships. I did not make clear to you something that I do want to make clear. And this is important that you get this. I have a lot of respect for Joel Hunter. I have a lot of disagreement with Joel Hunter, but I have a lot of respect for Joel Hunter. And you should respect him too. He is a man who has paid his dues, is well deserved of your respect, but there is something that he is not deserving of. And I'm going to tell you what that is in just a moment. We just